discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to the Thursday edition of The Chiefs. And of course, with us are Lucy Cruz Valdez, the head of News 5. Hi, Bossing. Ana Marie Pamintuan, the editor-in-chief of Philippine Star. Hi, Ami. Hello, ladies. And we're waiting for Robbie Alampay of One News to join us, coming from Reliance Street in Mandaluyong. What's the big story tonight? I suppose it's the vaccine?
Yung vaccine! Walang katapusan, ano?
Well, sabi ng
and really, the big question is, kailan ba talaga? Kailan ba talaga?
Yeah, natin different months eh.
Oo, iba-iba eh. Tsaka,
well, sabi ni Eric
Oh.
Domingo kanina, FDA, they can give approval, emergency authorization. No, as early as January.
Yeah, January. Tapos March nga raw. March nga raw, pwede na, di ba?
Pwede na.
Oh,
but we have to qualify that eh. Si Dr. Domingo is speaking from the point of view of regulatory approval. Hindi naman siya yung purchasing eh. Hindi din siya yung mag-import eh. So in the end, his basis for his timeline is by this time, by late January, we could approve the vaccine, and siguro naman by 2 months we have the vaccine here already. But sabi nga niya kanina, we interviewed him just a few an hour ago. Sabi niya, but in the end, it will all depend on the supplier and the supply chain.
Eh, baka naman
yun nga yung logistics eh. Yun nga yung distribution. Diba? First of all,
nasa dulo tayo ng listahan, ibang usapan yun eh.
Exactly. Hindi natin alam kung meron ba silang enough supply to even give a country like ours. No? Kasi di ba, hinord na ng UK, US, di ba? Essentially, right? Because orders nila are in the 145 million, ganon eh, di ba? Sa US.
Sa US, by February daw, 100 million people can be vaccinated.
Exactly.
Yeah. O,
so the question.
Pfizer lang yan sa Moderna. Oh.
So baka yung March is really a question mark eh.
Yeah. Kasi ano pa, di ba? Yung sa US, di ba, they're ordering from everybody. Parang ganon eh.
Yeah.
They're not just ordering from one supplier, they're ordering from everybody, which means medyo taken na yung first few manufactured supplies ng mga pharma. So saan tayo ron, no?
Pero may kausap din naman tayo, sabi ng government, we're talking with Russia and China. Sinopharm is one of the top 5 pharmaceutical companies in the world also. Top 10. So baka naman yan ang iniisip din ng gobyerno, kaya ganyan minamadali. So hindi na, although hindi pa sila nag-a-apply no one has applied for EUA pa, emergency use authorization. So tingnan natin.
And remember, Russia has already approved 2 vaccines, Sputnik in August and Corona in October.
Saka nag-umpisa na din sila eh. They've started voluntary vaccination.
Pero when we asked Dr. Domingo about
order ang US doon.
Hindi ko si Trump yun order.
We asked Dr. Domingo about that. Sabi namin, sir, magkaiba ba yung regulatory process at yung standards ng US, UK versus yung Russia? I mean, if the Russians approved and they approved already these 2 vaccines, is it almost as good as the approval process of the UK and the US? Sabi niya, hindi talaga eh. Ibang levels yung nag-uusapan natin dyan eh. So they look at it differently.
The standards are different eh, no?
At least we have something to look forward to ngayong Pasko, no? Although ngayong gabi, sabi ni Carl Chua, NEDA at they're expecting quarantines all the way through 2021. Certain levels of quarantines. So,
Lagay ko nga.
If
you only have 20% of the population vaccinated by the end of 2021, parang tayo.
That's what they're expecting.
Tsaka yung question nga ng 6 months lang yung efficacy, di ba? Parang after 6 months hindi ka na naman immune. Hindi nandun pa rin yun, di ba?
Hindi pa naman sigurado.
Yeah.
Hindi pa naman sigurado. But anyway, medyo maganda-ganda Christmas natin, di ba? At least meron na. At least
hope.
Hope.
May glimmers of hope.
Yeah, may glimmer of hope, whispering hope.
Yeah.
So,
Pero huwag na natin muna sabihin yan kasi baka maging complacent ka di ba? I mean, pati yung messaging na yan, dapat i-balance mo rin di ba? On the one hand, you're saying, andi dito na. On the other hand, you're saying, teka muna, baka mamaya, madelay. Baka makalimutan ng protocol.
Let's manage expectations. Baka mamaya the glimmering star turns out to be an approaching asteroid. Mahirap na yun
Yeah, pati nga sa mga pagsasabuhan, kailangan mindful pa rin, hindi ba? Pati dyan dahil dumadami mga tao sa simbahan,
And I guess
siyempre, nagdadasal.
Siyempre, magpapasko. So, siguro, tanongin natin yung guest natin.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so our first guest for tonight in the Chiefs is Father Jerome Secillano, the Executive Secretary ng Catholic Bishops Conference of the Philippines Public Affairs Committee. And we bring in Father Jerome because we want to talk about, we understand that the CBCP has approved guidelines for the Christmas rituals, like Simbang Gabi and all of these other ceremonies that we traditionally have during the Christmas season. Father Jerome, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Chiefs.
Good evening, Father.
Good evening, Father.
Nakamute po kayo, Father.
Dinig niyo kami?
Nakamute. Okay na? O wala pa rin siya?
Father, wala si Father.
Okay. Tuloy mo na natin ang chika.
Yung glimmer of hope ninyo.
Narinig niya. Ano lang yan, technical lang yan. Technical yung mas madali maasika. Yan, technical yan.
Okay, nag-release kasi yung CBCP just yesterday, I think, or the other day, ng guidelines for the diocese.
For Simbang Gabi.
Yeah. Simbang Gabi, among other things, also including yung Christmas Day, I think, Christmas Day Mass, Christmas Eve Mass, and so on down the line.
Yeah.
So, yun. As well, we should also be talking about yung protocols sa mga simbahan. There you go. Father, can you hear us, Father?
Yeah, good evening po. Good evening po. Good evening to
Good evening,
everyone.
Father.
Thank you po for joining us. Father, can you run us through the guidelines ng CBCP? What do we expect for Simbang Gabi among other ceremonies for the Christmas season?
Well, number one, we are going to have our schedules based on the curfew that we have also. It will start at 12 midnight and it will end at 3 a.m. So we need to say, in the Archdiocese of Manila, as well as maybe other dioceses in the National Capital Region, we can start our anticipated Simbang Gabi as early as 6 p.m. And then early morning, we can start as early as 3 a.m.
So para matapos ng 7 o'clock, no? And it gives everybody time to go home, right?
Another reason for that is we want to have as many Simbang Gabis as possible because they only allowed parishioners to enter the church is 30% of the capacity of the church. And so therefore, it may not be enough to accommodate the influx of people at the time. Alam niyo naman po ninyo, kapag Simbang Gabi, napakarami talaga ng mga tao na pumupunta po ng simbahan.
So
ilang services yan? Ilang services yan? Sa gabi, sa anticipated?
Depende po yan sa mga parokya. Kaya po hindi magiging uniform yan. Dahil may mga parokya po na napakarami talaga ng parishioners. Ibig sabihin, malaki yung parokya. So, pwede po sila na magkaroon ng 1, 2, o 3 na misa. Basta before 12 midnight, at least matapos, so that people can still go home without being bothered by the curfew. And then, sa mga probinsya, that's totally different. Kasi ito pong anticipated Simbang Gabi, usually hindi naman po ginagawa sa mga province. Ang talagang ginagawa po nila ay yung madaling araw. Nag-i-start po sila ng 4 a.m. At yun na po, ngayon ay dahil pwedeng dagdagan nga yung misa, pwede ding 6 a.m. ay ituturing pa rin na Simbang Gabi.
So apart from that,
Yes,
holding online masses, kasi si Secretary Duque nagsalita kanina kung maaari daw na lang muna, online masses, pati yung Simbang Gabi.
Well, the Secretary should not be worried by that, kasi matagal na naman po kami nag-online. So, lahat po ng mga misa naman namin sa mga parokya ay naka-FB live yan. So, and then a lot of people has benefited from it. Kaya itutuloy pa rin naman po namin yan kasi yun naman po talaga ang kailangan din ng tao. Not too many people will be allowed outside of their homes, and so therefore we shall be catering to their needs also.
So sa Christmas
Father,
Eve and New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, ano naman yung schedule ninyo?
Ganon din po ganon din po 'yon. Ang operation po namin yan, pwede kami mag-umpisa ng 6 p.m. And basta 12 before 12 midnight at least matapos po yan.
Father, what about the length of the service? Will you be regulating the length of the service?
Definitely, we have been doing that even before. Talagang iniksian po namin. Sa amin dito sa Archdiocese of Manila ay ginagawa namin at least 45 minutes matapos na yung Sunday Mass. Yung mga weekday masses, usually natatapos so yun ng mga 30 minutes lang. Kasi ang isang bagay na tinanggal po namin dito ay yung mga kanta sa mga bahagi ng misa. Not all the songs are being sung now. Kaya umiiksi din. And kami, bilang mga pare, we were also told to make our homilies short. Diba? But substantial, of course. Para pupulot pa naman yung mga tao.
Yeah. So, anong mga parts ng Mass yung tinanggal nyo yung mga songs? Halimbawa, I suppose offertory, halimbawa.
Well, offertory,
pwede, siguro yun, no?
Ang offertory pwede pong kantahin. Pero pwedeng, halimbawa, yung Our Father, i-recite na lang namin. Yung Lamb of God, Lamb of God, pwede i-recite na lang din yan. And
yung
then
Holy.
Pwede din pong yung Sanctus Sanctus, Holy, pwede na rin pong i-recite. Yung pong una, siyempre yung entrance, maganda pa rin naman merong entrance hymn. And of course, yung offertory, maganda rin naman po yun na merong offertory. And then of course, communion hymn, maganda rin na meron tayo yan. And then recessional, at least meron po tayo. So, basta
paano
yung
iniiwasan? Sige ho, recessional. Tatanong sana yung communion, Father, paano ba yung... Paano yung communion? Kasi, syempre, meron pang, I suppose, wala na nung wine, ano? Usually, pag special occasion, may dipping pa sa wine ng host, di ba?
Dito po sa Pilipinas, hindi naman po talaga ginagawa, yung dipping ng host doon sa wine. Wala po talaga tayong ginagawa niyan. Ang isang innovative, kumbaga ay change sa ginawa po namin dito, ay bago bumaba po yung pare, i-raise niya na yung host, sasabihin niya na the body of Christ, so that when he comes down to distribute communion, those who are going to receive will not anymore just, parang, hindi na namin sasabihin pala na the body of Christ individually. So, para makabawas.
Pero yun? Sa kamay na lang.
By the hand.
Sa kamay na lang, Kanya-kanyang subo. Kanya-kanyang subo. Yeah.
Correct.
Paano yung mga confessionals? Are they operational, Father?
Opo. Pero naman po kami mga...
Okay.
Meron naman po kami mga safeguards diyan, Basta tatandaan po ng publiko dito kung ano man po pinatutupad ng IATF, pati na po ng DOH, saan po yung ginagawa po namin. Meron pong face mask, meron pong face shield, meron pong physical distancing, pati yung sa kumpisal ginagawa po namin yan.
Yung air
paano, Father, pag walang face shield or walang mask?
We do not allow them.
Pinapapasok.
Of course, we do not allow them to
ganun
enter.
kahigpit, Yeah.
Well, kinakailangan po natin magigpit kasi ayaw naman po namin bilang simbahan na masisi din kami balang araw dahil naging maluwag po tayo. So we don't want that to happen also.
Yung mga simbahan, are you discouraging them from having air conditioning? Kasi maraming simbahan na may air condition
Well, for as long as nagbe-maintain tayo ng physical distancing tapos medyo binawasan na nga po yung mga kanta, diba? Ang usual naman na gagawin nila, makinig na lang po makinig na sa homily. So I think yung air conditioning unit, ewan ko lang po, I'm not an expert, baka hindi naman po makaka-apekto yun, kumbaga sa transmission ng virus, pero mas maka-apekto yung kung medyo mainit talaga. Kapag nainitan, magiging fidgety yung mga tao, magiging medyo, sila, parang hindi uncomfortable. So, depende na po yun sa situation. The parish priest should know very well kung ano po yung sitwasyon dun sa kanyang lugar. Kaya siya na rin din po ang gagawa ng adjustments.
Father, may mga suggestion na gawin na lang daw sa labas yung mass para rin maraming ma-accommodate. Tapos open air. So, hindi kaya option yun?
Well, kahit wala pa po na tong coronavirus, may mga parishes talaga na gumagawa na po niyan. Kasi, ang unang-unang consideration nga po nito ay napakarami po ng mga nagsisimba. at overflowing po talaga sa loob ng simbahan. That's why some parish priests are very creative in deciding to hold masses outside of the church. I will take as an example yung pong UST. Meron pong simbahan dyan, parish sa loob ng campus. Hindi po sila nagkakaroon ng kanilang simbang gabi even before before the outbreak of coronavirus. Wala pa nito. Ginagawa po nila yan sa football field. So hindi naman po ito bago. So this is a practical way. This is a practical way of accommodating more people. Pero ngayon, mas maraming considerations. Siyempre, yung physical distancing, kaya kukunti talaga yung tao sa loob ng simbahan. Kaya kung maaari, mas malaki yung venue, and then open air, pwede pong gawin yun.
Father, outside of the rituals, the ceremonies, how do the priests now minister to their parishioners? Meron bang mga one-on-ones pa rin? At saka yung mga wedding counseling, di ba may mga ganyan yung pre-wedding counseling. And just on an individual basis, di ba? Especially at this time when people are wanting to connect with God more because of what they're going through. How difficult has it been for the priests, and what options do they have in order to minister to the lay people?
Well, number one, as priests, we try to be sources of hope to our parishioners. And then there will be times that we try to talk to our parishioners one-on-one, especially if they are the ones seeking it. So we give them time to talk to them. And then, of course, through our homilies, we try also to assure them that there will always be time for everything, but they have to be reminded that there's also time for this pandemic to pass. So this is going to pass. And then, of course, we try to assure them that the church is there to help them. That's why we also do concrete acts of helping them. So meron po kami mga ginagawa na pagbibigay din ng ayuda. Hindi lamang po gobyerno nagbibigay ng ayuda. Kami po, namimigay din po kami ng ayuda. So pinipili po namin yung talagang mga mahihirap at binibigyan po namin sila ng pagkain, binibigyan din po namin sila kung anong pangangailangan nila. So our interventions are varied. Hindi lamang po ito spiritual, liturgical, so meron din pong emotional, psychological.
Yes.
And then of course, ito na acts of charity. So makita natin dito yung paggalaw ng simbahan, holistic ang approach na ginagawa ng simbahan.
Father,
Father, let
tuloy
me
ba
ask
lahat
about-
ng ano? Sige, Ed.
Father, let me ask about the other side of the coin. Kasi you were talking about the priest ministering to the members of the congregation. Pero what about the other side of the coin? What about the priests themselves and the parishes? Kasi diba, a lot of parishes, I don't know if all, but a lot of parishes rely on collections to sustain the parish's operations. Pero with the pandemic and all that, I suppose bumagsak yung collections dahil mas kaunti nakakapunta ng simbahan, mas kaunti nakakapagmisa, marami nag-online masses na lang. I'm wondering how, especially yung mga poor parishes or the small parishes, I'm wondering how they're coping with the pandemic.
Well, that's a good observation, that we rely on collections, and yet we do not want to be very focused on that, because we know very well that people are also suffering and they are also in need. Marami ding nawalan ng trabaho, kaya hindi rin kami nag-expect masyado. So kung paano kami nagsusurvive, well, ang maganda nito ay kami mga pari naman, hindi naman kami yung tipong mapagganap, Ang nagiging problema lang ng ibang mga parokya, katulad ng maliit na parokya, syempre yung pambayad sa utilities. Okay, dito na pumapasok.
Kuryente and all that.
Okay, dito na pumapasok ngayon yung tulong ng Archdiocese. So I cannot generalize whether all these poor parishes are being helped by their mother diocese. So I just don't know. But alam ko mga creative din naman yung mga parish priest. Kaya meron din naman in my case as a parish priest, meron din naman talagang mga tumutulong. Talagang sila na mismo nagre-reach out sa simbahan dahil alam nila yung observation mo din. So sila mismo nagbibigay. And so therefore, kahit papaano, na-overcome naman namin. At higit sa lahat, nakakabili pa rin naman kami ng pantulong namin. So thanks be to God, it's I think a grace that we were able to survive. Although na-feel din namin na talagang medyo mahirap din para sa amin nga. Nagpapasweldo din kami aside from the utilities, nagpapasweldo din kami ng mga tao. So some parishes have already talked to their employees na kinakailangan natin na magbaba din, kumbaga bawasan yung kanilang yung kanilang sweldo, and then kasi yung workload naman nila nabawasan din because of the of course the quarantine protocols, so hindi rin sila nakaka-report. So kaya naiintindihan naman lahat so lahat naman kasi dito should sacrifice because everyone is affected. Wala naman dito kumbaga ay namumukod-tangi na hindi naapektuhan, but naiintindihan namin bilang simbahan.
Father,
Meron mga parish na that serve really poor communities na siguro mahihirapan sila maghanap ng benefactor, di ba? I mean, not all parishes are blessed with wealthy congregations Paano po yung mga yun?
Tama po. Aside from the diocese helping the parishes from within its jurisdiction, yung mga malalaking parokya ay tumutulong din sa maliliit na parokya. So, halimbawa po yung Quiapo, I'm going to mention Quiapo. Quiapo is a very big church. Talagang, sabihin na po natin na yung resources niya medyo mas malaki naman kumpara sa mga ibang simbahan. So, kaya itong Quiapo Church, namimigay siya ng tulong sa mga maliliit na parokya. And then, I knew also St. Andrew's Church in Bel Air. So, the parish priest there is also helping a lot of poor parishes. Kasi alam din niya na may pangangailangan talaga itong mga maliliit na parokya. And it's a brotherhood, it's a fraternity. And dito dama namin na kinakailangan talaga namin magtulungan. So hindi kami to each his own. So andi dito yung aming na camaraderie, and at the same time we try to reach out to our brother priests who are also in need, especially those who belong or who are parish priests of small parishes.
Father, tuloy ba lahat ng ministering ninyo ng sacraments? Or did you have to suspend? Meron pa rin mga binyag-binyag? Meron
tuloy
pa rin?
Po.
Lahat tuloy?
Tuloy po lahat yan, pero observing protocols.
Pati binyag pala, tuloy.
Tuloy po ang
Pero yung mga,
tuloy po
paano
yung
yung mga
anointing,
baby?
tuloy po.
Paano yung mga baby nga?
Kasi very
Hindi siya
vulnerable yung mga yun,
Well, kami ang sabi nga po namin, we are doing the protocols. We're practicing it. We are implementing it. Ngayon, choice naman yan ng mga magulang. As much as possible, we tell them, may expose yan, napakadelikado, baka pwede pa ninyong i-postpone. Pero hindi rin natin matatawaran kasi na mayroon talagang mga araw din na itinuturing nila na mahalaga sa kanila. Pinipili nila yun. So we cannot just tell them na hindi kami pwede, baka may expose yan. So after explaining to them the risks, and then the possibilities, kung talaga mapilit, siyempre hindi kami pwedeng umayaw dyan. Kaya gagawin na lang namin yung protocols. Hindi
pero
namin
Father,
talaga...
nabawasan ba? Nabawasan ba mga nagpapakasal, ng mga nagpapabinyag, nagpapakumpil, I suppose, Kasi yung kumpil, lalo na.
Isa-isahin po natin yun. Yung kumpil naman po ay ginagawa yan, annual lang yan. Isang beses, isang taon. Okay. Pero po yung kasal, anytime kasi may nagpapakasal. Pero ngayon dahil may COVID-19, ay kumonte yung nagpapakasal. At yung pong mga nagpapabinyag, kumonti din dahil nga sa sitwasyon po natin. Ang dami po kasing factors, It's not only about COVID-19, pero dahil mahirap din po ngayon Yung pagpapabinyag, alam natin, piyesta yan Ibig sabihin ng piyesta, kapag nagpabinyag, talaga may handaan yan. Anong yung paghahanda mo ngayon? Diba? Anong yung paghahanda mo ngayon? Kasi wala kang trabaho, wala kang pera. So, kumonti din talaga. Pero, iniisip na lang po namin, kumonti man yan, dahil may dahilan, At yung mga dahilan yan ay valid naman. Valid reasons naman.
Pero paano yung last rites? Pinapayagan ba kayo sa mga ospital? I suppose, hindi na magagawa yun,
Okay.
Paano po yun?
Ganito po ginagawa yan, Kapag COVID patient, wala na po talagang last rites yan. Kasi health protocol dictates, nobody goes near the cadaver. Wala po talaga. Pero kapag halimbawa naman may sakit at iba naman ang dahilan, so pwede po kami. na magbigay ng anointing with the PPEs and with all the other costume, sabihin na natin, ano. So, ginagawa po naman namin yun.
So, very risky rin for you, no?
Well,
I mean, in a way, because, kasi you have to be there. Yeah.
We are also considered as frontliners. Opo. Kaya medyo ano din po talaga, risky din talaga. But it's part of our ministry as priests. So, hindi namin pwedeng i-deny din yung tao ng mga ganong mga mag-interventions.
Father, we're into the 9th month of quarantine. Saka magpapasko na. Would you say na dumoble na ang dami ng taong pumupunta ngayon sa simbahan or more than double compared to maybe 3 months ago?
Well, practically, it's going to double. Kasi 3 months ago, we were only allowed 10% of the church's capacity for accommodation. So ngayon na 30% na. So yung 10%, ginawa mong 30%, so more than double yun. So,
pero nasa labas sila noon eh. Lumalabas sila ngayon. Sobra-sobra na ngayon. Marami na talaga.
Well, kapag sinabi po kasi natin na 30% lang, ang makikita namin talaga, yung 30% lang sa loob.
Sa simbahan, oo.
Sa loob ng simbahan.
Pero yung nasa labas,
yung
kahit
nasa labas,
nasa labas sila eh.
Yung nasa labas po kasi, hindi namin kinakount yon bahagi ng 30%. Kasi ang pinag-uusapan po dito na 30%, yung loob lang.
Yung nasa loob.
At ito po tatandaan natin, when we speak of those churchgoers who are outside the church, nakikita po natin yan sa mga simbahan na talagang pinupuntahan. Katulad po ng Quiapo, katulad po ng Baclaran. But ginagawa naman po yan, pero yung sa loob ay talagang strictly 30% lang. Yung mga nasa labas, kaya nga po, meron din dyan sa protocol namin na makipag-ugnayan sa PNP, sa barangay officials, so that they will be the ones to take care of those people outside the church. Kasi hindi mo rin may iwasan yan. Kasi kung kami lang din po, yung workforce naman namin sa simbahan, baka kulang din, hindi sapat para mapanatili natin yung discipline sa labas.
Teka, Father, kayo ba, pinapayagan nyo ba mga bata, minors, sa church? Hindi rin,
Well, may IATF protocol po, kaya ang dapat na susundin ng taong bayan at susunod din po kami. So kami po bilang taong simbahan sumusunod sa protocol ng IATF. Ang publiko dapat sumusunod sa protocol ng IATF. Ngayon, kung meron man po lumabag dyan, halimbawa lumabas, ang unang-unang dapat na sumita sa kanila ay yung gobyerno. Di po ba? Kami naman kapag pumasok na ng simbahan yan, we tell them. Pero we cannot just force them to go out. Pero we remind them that you are not allowed to come in here. So ando doon po kami, very prudent naman kami in dealing with them. Kasi alam niyo, sa experience namin, kapag halimbawa pinwersa mong inilabas yan, kami pa po magiging masama. Parang simbahan to, ba't nyo kami pinalalabas? Di ba? So, depending kami.
Right.
Kaya nga po, yung pakikipag-ugnayan namin sa barangay official, saka sa PNP, very crucial yon. Kasi sila dapat yung nagbabawal, o humuhuli, o di kaya ay nagpiprevent. So, wag naman sana kami pa. Doon sa amin yung burden. Simbahan po kami. We should be accommodating people, di ba?
Yes. Tsaka hindi maganda talaga na you turn them away, di ba?
Driven away by the church.
Yes, tama po.
Pero meron na bang mga ganong kaso, Father?
Wala pa naman po. Wala pa naman.
Okay.
Thanks be to God, wala pa naman.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Father Jerome Secillano ng CBCP Public Affairs Committee. Father, thank you po for joining us.
Thank you, Father.
My pleasure po. My pleasure po. My pleasure.
We will just go into break, so please stay with us.
Welcome back to the Chiefs. We're now in the final stage of our conversation. And now joining us is the Mayor of San Juan, Mayor Francis Zamora. Mayor, good evening.
Yes,
Welcome.
Hi, sir.
Good evening, Mayor.
good evening, Ami and Lucy. Sayang wala si Robbie.
Oo nga.
Oo nga.
Mayor,
Yes,
magpapasko na. Mukhang malaking problema, mukhang pinoproblema ngayon yung mga shopping areas. Masyadong masikip, masyadong ano. And you have jurisdiction over one of the busiest shopping centers in Manila. Kumusta po yung situation ngayon sa Greenhills? Saka ano yung mga pinatutupad nyo para ma-observe pa rin yung physical distancing in particular?
Yes, actually, Ami, last week, nag-inspect nga ako dito sa Greenhills Mall at tinignan natin kung patuloy nilang sinusunod yung mga protocols natin. And I was very happy with what I saw because first and foremost, yung mga nakasanayan nating tiyangge dati na dikit-dikit, ngayon hindi mo na yan makikita sapagkat naka-cluster na yung mga stalls. Hindi na tulad nung dati na inline siya na talagang dikit-dikit. So now they're clustered into 4 stalls. Malaki yung gaps in between these stalls. And merong mga directional signs kung saan na maglalakad ng mga tao para hindi sila nagkakasulubong. At meron silang inassign na yung mga officers sila na nagbabantay kung merong nagdidikit-dikit or pag hindi naka-mask, hindi naka-face shield. So all of these are in place. In fact, as soon as you enter the mall, dadaan ka sa thermal scan and meron silang alcohols. Even yung mga sahig dito, meron mga stickers reminding people that you must observe 2 meters from each other. So I was very satisfied with what I saw. At honestly, hindi ko nakikita pa yung dagsa ng tao sa ngayon. So even if bukas yung mall, I guess people will just decide to stay home muna or reality rin talaga dyan na naging kakompetensya ng mga malls yung mga online stores kasi pwede mo na magpa-deliver ng pagkain, ng damit, basically anything pwede mo nang pa-deliver ngayon. So these are really things that have come up during the pandemic.
But Mayor, it's already December 3. Sa tingin niyo ba darating pa yung dagsa ng mga tao or mukhang ito na yung if at all kaunti na lang itataas? I mean, realistically speaking, what do you foresee?
Well, nakikita kong dadami pa, pero hindi ko siya nakikita na maging kasing dami ng mga nakaraang taon. Also because of the age restrictions, malaking bagay din yung age restrictions sapagkat ang age na pwedeng lumabas talaga, 18 to 65 lamang. This is something that we in the Metro Manila Council have decided on. In fact, the past few days, alam kong merong konting confusion dyan. Ngunit nagkaroon na ng linaw yan kahapon sapagkat final na po na 18 to 65 lang ang pwedeng lumabas. If you are below 18 or above 65, you can only go out for essential activities. Ako nga nag-request na i-define natin ano bang essential. So the essential means you buy food, you buy medicines, or you go out to exercise, or you go to a doctor or a dentist. Yan considered essential. But anything aside from those I mentioned are not considered essential. So the fact that a very big age group is already disallowed to go out of the house, naturally hindi yan pwede pumasok sa mall, bawas na agad yung bilang ng tao na nakakapasok.
Of course, on the other side of the equation are the businessmen and mga tindera sa Tiangge. May na-interview nga kami sa News 5 na talagang halos umiiyak na dahil wala nga raw silang benta, Mayor. How are you doing in terms of that sector of your economy?
Yes, this is something that we really have to balance. Ang paradigm natin ngayon is the health and safety of our people and of course reviving the economy. So kailangan meron tayong good balance sa dalawang yan. Hindi mo pwedeng i-discount yung importance of each. So what we really do is we allowed, well, I was one of the first to actually shorten curfew hours to give businesses an opportunity to operate longer. So pag nag-ooperate sila mas mahaba, ibig sabihin, yung panahon para magbenta sila ay mas mahaba rin. And aside from that, yung trabaho rin siyempre ng empleyado, pag longer work hours, longer din ang panahon na kumikita sila. So, ginawa natin to parang mga tulong. But remember, yung nakakapasok lamang sa mall ay yung allowed by the IATF na age bracket. So, yung iba, talagang nag-decide na lang, manatili na lang sa bahay or yun nga, nabanggit ko, online ang pamimili nila. Now, I'm also aware that the malls have been giving their locators, meaning yung mga tindahan, no? Nagbibigay naman sila ng mga discounted rates ngayon.
Yun nga tatanong ko kung may subsidy or di ba, discount somehow, no? Yeah.
No? Nagbibigay ang mga malls ng discount. I can speak of Greenhills Mall. Of course, I'm not aware din sa ibang malls outside of San Juan. But specifically ang Greenhills Mall, nagbibigay sila ng consideration sa mga tenants nila. At pare-pareho sinasabi ko, when I speak to the mall management and also when I speak to the tenants, give and take yan eh. Sinasabi ko sa mall, kung papahirapan niyo yung mga stall owners, kung hindi nyo bibigyan ng konsiderasyon yan, magsasara yan, mamamatay ang negosyo. At lalong mawawalan kayo ng tenants. So, don't
Kumusta na nga po yun? Nabawasan na ba yung mga tenants sa Greenhills Mall? How is it doing? Marami na bang nalugi? Marami na bang they just stop operating altogether? What are the numbers?
Some have chosen not to open. It doesn't mean na sinara na nila for good. Pero yung iba naka-wait and see. So, yung tindahan nila nakasara lang, naghihintay sila na medyo bumalik sa normal ang sitwasyon.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's one of the considerations that the mall is giving these locators because it doesn't mean that you really have to close already. Kumbaga, temporarily, sarado muna. Tingnan natin pag medyo bumuti ang sitwasyon na pagpasok ng 2021. Some naman have chosen to open and itong mga nagbubukas, syempre, ang advantage naman nila, pag may pumasok na mamimili, ang tindahan nila bukas. Sabihin, posibleng magbilan sila, posibleng makainan sila. So, these are risks that businessmen will have to take at this point. And what we are hoping for is for things to slowly normalize very soon. Alam niyo naman, may usap-usapan na tungkol sa vaccine. Kung indeed talagang ma-access ito ng ating mga mamamayan starting second quarter next year, yun yung binanggit sa amin ng IATF. Possibly, by second quarter next year, magsisimula na nga ito, then of course things will change.
Nabanggit niyo na yung vaccine, Mayor. There was a report recently na balak daw ng mga metro mayors na mag-pitch in sa pagpo-procure ng vaccine. Pag-usapan niyo na ba kung ano magiging mechanics nun? Paano, what do you mean exactly by helping in the procurement?
Okay. During our IATF meeting a few days ago, a joint Metro Manila Council and IATF meeting yan, it was discussed to us na magkakaroon na ng vaccine, the possibility of having the vaccine by second quarter. So some mayors suggested na kung sakaling ang hindi kayanin ng national government yung procurement, nag-suggest yung iba na yung LGUs pwede namang mag-procure din, which I'm okay with because at the end of the day, mga constituents natin yan, mga mamamayan natin. In fact, kami dito sa San Juan, nag-earmark na kami ng 50 million pesos for 2021 to procure vaccines. Pinasok na namin yan sa 2021 budget namin para pag sakaling dumating nga yung vaccine, meron kami pondong naka-standby. But if the national government says that kakayanin nila for all Filipinos, then naka-standby lang yung pondo namin. Hindi namin kailangan ng gamitin.
Meaning on your own, the LGU can procure vaccine directly from abroad? Ganun ba yan?
No, parang proposal lang yan. No? Pero ang just in case nga mangyari yun, it has to be coursed through the national government. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng kanya-kanya na nag-aagawa, nag-uunahan. Siyempre yung presyo din kapag mag-procure ka in bulk, of course, if the national government procures in bulk, mas bababa ang presyo niya. Ngayon, kung ang LGU, kung merong bumili, at ilang libong bakuna lang yan, malamang sa malamang mahal yan because konti lang yung quantity. So these are just proposals pa lang naman amin, nothing concrete yet. I guess if and when the vaccine really comes by the second quarter, as mentioned to us by the IATF, we will formalize kung ano ba yung procedure dito.
What about the Christmas parties at home? Pag-usapan po natin yan. Marami ho ba kayo dyan na kasi ang hirap doon yung enforcement, Mayor, di ba? Kasi hindi nyo naman alam kung ano nangyayari sa loob ng mga bakuran ng mga bahay, hindi ho ba? But how are you going about encouraging people to actually obey the protocols laid down by government? No? Halimbawa, yung parang party na lang na no more than 10, pwede nga kayo na lang kung sino yung mga kasama mo sa bahay. How do you think your citizens, your constituents, are going to go about that today? Do you think the compliance will be high?
Well, Lucy, first, yung mga government offices yan, even private offices, pinagbawal na ang Christmas parties. No? Bawal ang anumang Christmas party, bawal din ang caroling. So, natitira na lang yung mga party sa bahay. Sa totoo lang, talagang mahirap i-monitor yan because they're already inside their homes. No? Wala naman tayong search warrant na pwede mong pasukin yung mga yan. But what we are hoping for is for people to really understand na kahit hindi naman sila binabantayan, kahit hindi sila hulihin, alam nila kung ano ang bawal at hindi. Alam nila kung anong delikado at hindi. Now, we can police up to a certain extent yung mga business establishments, yung malls, no, yung mga kalye. Pero syempre, yung loob ng mga tahanan, you're talking about thousands of households here in San Juan. Pero alam nyo, dito kasi sa San Juan, meron din kaming mga bike patrollers, no? Sila yung mga nagbibisikleta all around the city, even in the smaller streets. Nanguhuli ng mga violators, no? Yung mga hindi sumusunod sa ating mga protocols. So, kung kayo ay mahuli na hindi sumusunod sa mga patakaran, pwede kayong kasuhan ng pulis natin, no? Because it's within the IATF guidelines, nasa omnibus guidelines yan ng IATF, na hindi pwede magkaroon ng mass gathering. When you say mass gathering, hanggang 10 tao lang talaga yan. If you will strictly define it, talagang hanggang 10 tao lang yan. So ako, ang panawagan ko sa lahat ng nanonood ngayon, whether you're from San Juan or from anywhere else in the Philippines, kung tayo magkakaroon ng Christmas gathering, let's keep it within the family. Understandable naman na magsasalo-salo talaga ang pamilya sa Pasko. Pero yung sabihin mong yung mga magkakaibigan, magkakaopisina, magkakabarkada, magkakapitbahay, no? Yun, iwasan na muna natin. Dahil nakikita naman natin ngayon, no, na kahit tayo ay nasa GCQ, ay bumababa naman ang ating active cases. Dito sa San Juan, as of yesterday, no, 48 active cases na lang po kami. From 680 active cases nung simula ng September, we are down to just 48 as of yesterday. And this is in spite of the fact that we're already in the month of December na unti-unti nang nalabasan yung mga tao. So huwag natin sayangin yung 9 na buwan na pinaghirapan natin lahat na naka-quarantine tayo. Kasi pag ito'y tumaas, na yung panahon ng Kapaskuhan, pagbalik natin sa Enero, problema na naman.
Meron yung mga kasama ko rito kasi galing sa henerasyon na inabutan pa yung animatronics na presentation ng Christmas sa COD sa Cubao. Lumipat eventually dyan sa Greenhills Shopping Center. I'm wondering lang, may posibilidad bang matuloy ang animatronics presentation?
Yes, yung binabanggitin yung COD Christmas display. As of 2 years ago, ano na siya?
Wala na.
Hindi na siya ginawa ng pamilya nung nag-create. No? Hindi na siya ginawa dito sa Greenhills. I'm not sure if they transferred or if totally they already stopped it. last year, ang ginawa ng Greenhills, meron silang laser light show. But this year, so far, wala pa. Ang pinaka-Christmas celebration na lang actually is yung Tree of Hope, which we launched last week. Yung Tree of Hope ay, ang concept nito, yung mga mamimili pwede mag-donate sa pamamagitan ng pagbili ng stickers. Tapos yung sticker na yun, ididikit mo dun sa puno and may corresponding donation yon. At yung San Juan senior citizens po ang pinili nating beneficiary. So whatever proceeds this program will get up to January 3, ito ibibigay po natin sa mga senior citizens ng San Juan. So hindi na Christmas activity ang ginawa nila. It's more of a charity Christmas program.
What about the New Year's Eve, Mayor? Anong preparation nyo? Meron pa rin bang fireworks? Magkakaroon ba kayo ng common fireworks area? Kasi alam ko marami dyan mga bahay-bahay na nagpa-fireworks sa San Juan.
Oh, well, I have made a decision not to have any fireworks display because we will just attract a crowd at yan talagang ayaw natin. Ang hirap po ng pinagdaanan natin itong nakarang 9 na buwan at dahila na nga ho natin pababa ang active cases natin to just 48. We were down to 33 noong November 3. That was the lowest we reached ever since nag-relax na nga o nag-open up ulit yung ekonomiya natin. So ako humihingi muna ng pag-iintindi sa ating mga mamamayan. Wala po muna tayong fireworks display or any New Year's Day or New Year's Eve celebration. Let's just keep it simple for this year. Simba po tayo, we can celebrate with our family, basta susundin lang natin yung mga health and safety protocols natin. At nakikita ko naman na yung mga mamamayan naintindihan din naman na ito ay para sa ating kaligtasan. I'm sure no one wants to get infected. So we just all have to be careful and we have to understand the situation.
Yung curfew, New Year's Eve pa rin. May balak ba mga mayors na medyo isian? Kasi usually kapag New Year's Eve at mga around 1 o'clock, di ba? Yung mga salo-salo kahit walang fireworks. Meron ba kayong pinag-uusapan ganon?
We've already adjusted our curfew to 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. So, binawasan natin ng isang oras yan. And yun yung uniform curfew na napagkasunduan ng Metro Manila Council. Regarding New Year's Eve, wala naman kaming napapag-usapan pa. But kung wala naman din talagang fireworks display, then there's no reason to extend or to adjust the curfew. So palagay ko ako, I will stick with it 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. Kaya naman natin binawasan ng 1 hour to give way dun sa mga magsisimbang gabi. At alam niyo naman po, yung tradisyon ng Pilipino ay pumunta sa Simbang Gabi, bahagi ito ng pagdiriwang ng Pasko. So this is giving consideration to those who will attend yung Simbang Gabi po natin.
Kasi mag-iingay pag 12, di ba? Kaya kailangan medyo extended. Kahit turotot lang, papayagan niyo ba nagtitinda ng mga turotot? There's some concern na baka daw magkalat yung mikrobyo sa mga turotot. Papayagan ba sila?
Well, kung kaya lang ihipan yung turotot na nakamask.
Parang may iba tayo na.
Pero remember, yung mga celebration naman, indoors dapat to. No? Yung New Year's Day, New Year's Eve or even New Year's Day, Christmas Eve, we encourage everyone to celebrate inside their homes. Yung curfew naman, ibig sabihin pag alas 12 na, dapat nasa bahay ka na. So you can celebrate as a family inside the household.
Kaya kumusta ba yung ano dyan? Yung bang tawiran ng tao from other cities? Mataas ba yung, ano bang tawag doon? Yung cross-city mobility, kumbaga. Kasi you're saying na 48 na lang ang active cases nyo, no? How are you guarding your boundaries, your borders, to make sure that if a surge does occur, which is something that the doctors are really warning us against, no, para para nga hindi maging complacent. But how do you guard your borders there in San Juan, knowing that, yun na nga, marami ring pumapasok dyan, dumadaan, at yun na nga, nagsha-shopping pa. How are you gonna do that? Yeah.
There's no way for us to know kung yung naglalakad sa mall ay taga San Juan o hindi. Talagang mahirap yan. No? Nung panahon ng ECQ, nagagawa natin yan sapagkat may mga checkpoints talaga at very restricted po ang movement. But since everyone is actually free to go around now, for as long as you're within the age bracket that is allowed, wala nang mga checkpoint po ngayon. Ano? So ang best talagang gawin dyan is to ensure that everyone is wearing a mask, face shield, yung naka-alcohol lahat, naka-thermal scan yung mga pasukan ng malls natin, dapat ma-ensure yung physical distancing para kahit taga anong lugar ka pa, whether you're from any other city or from the province, wherever you go, you will not get infected or you will not infect anyone else in case you are indeed a carrier. So, dyan talaga pumapasok yung pagsusuot ng mask. Alam nyo, napaka-basic lang sa totoo. No? If you're wearing a mask and a face shield, if you are a carrier, hindi mo yan matatransmit sa iba. And vice versa, kung nakamask at shield ka at ikaw ay healthy, wala rin paraan amuin yung COVID from other people because it enters, the virus enters through your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. So the mask and the face shield already is a barrier for transmission. So yon yung pagsunod lamang dyan, malaking bagay na talaga. Malaking tulong na para mababa ang mga kaso.
Mayor,
What about
that San Juan gets a big chunk of its income from the malls? I was wondering, was it difficult for you to come to that decision to support the ban against loosening the age restrictions in the malls?
Yes, alam mo, Pedro, ito honestly sasabihin ko sa inyo. Next year, magbabayad na yung mga negosyo ng business taxes. At ang basihan ng ibabayad nila ay yung gross sales nila nitong 2020. Wherein, for the last 9 months, marami sarado, kung may nagbukas man, kaunti lang. Nung simula, ngayon, medyo sumisigla. Pero if you will total yung gross sales ng mga negosyo nito, for the last 9 months, napakababa niya because maraming ang sarado, maraming taong hindi lumalabas. So we are really expecting na napakaliit na magiging collection natin. Ngunit, ganun talaga. We're facing a pandemic. No one wants this to happen. At it's just something that we have to live with, we have to survive. Kasi kung payagan mo naman yung mga minors sa mall, at halimbawa, payagan mo yung mga minors sa mall. Yung mga minors, mababa ang chance na maging symptomatic sila. Usually, because they are young, yung katawan nila, masigla, mataas ang resistensya, hindi nila malalaman na carrier na sila. Pag yan umuwi sa bahay at yakapin si lolo o si lola, posibleng mahawa nila ang kanilang grandparents or their parents without them even knowing. And this is something that we don't want to happen. So that is why when we were asked about relaxing yung age dito sa mga minors, kinonsulta po muna natin yan sa mga doktor, lalong-lalo na yung Philippine Pediatric Society. We asked for their opinion. Yun ang usapan namin ng Metro Manila Mayors. Dapat kung meron tayong decision, this should be based on medical studies. So that is why we came to a decision na manatiling 18 to 65 lamang yung pwedeng lumabas. Ngunit kung talagang essential activity or emergency, that is the only time na pwedeng lumabas yung minor or senior citizen.
So yung face-to-face classes, Mayor, out of the question until a vaccine comes along.
Yes, that is true.
Pinag-usapan ngayon, baka daw early next year namimili na sila ng mga lugar na baka pwede raw yung limited face-to-face.
Well, Ako, I would rather still have online classes sa ngayon. Hanggat makita natin na talagang safe na. Yung online classes naman, kumbaga, ano pa rin naman siya, it's still a mode of education. It may not be the usual conventional face-to-face na papasok ka, pero natututo naman ang ating mga kabataan. In fact, here in San Juan, one thing that we did, ito ongoing na po, na nagkakabit na rin kami ng dedicated fiber optic connection sa ating households na may mga San Juan Public School students. And we are in the process of distributing also yung mga tablets and laptops po nila. So we will eventually, in the next few weeks, have a 1:1 ratio. Lahat po ng San Juanenyo public school students studying here in San Juan Public Schools will each get a tablet. Meron kami isang school na pilot city pilot school ng DICT. Sila naman laptop makukuha nila. At lahat po ng households na merong San Juan Public School students, kakabitan po ng dedicated fiber optic internet connection for online classes. Hindi ito
babayaran ng gobyerno or sila magbabayad?
Yung city po, city. So, yung school board po namin, nag-allocate ho kami ng pondo for the internet connection. But yung internet na to is for online classes. Meron din develop na app kung saan yung mga public school students namin ay mag-aaral through this app. And while you are online with your teachers, yung fiber optic internet connection, magagamit mo. Kami naman po napili ng DICT para sa programang Free Wi-Fi for All. So, kasama ho dyan yung gadgets na binanggit ko kanina. So, that's 13,000 tablets and 1,000 laptops which should be used by our public school students here in San Juan. Pati ho yung teachers namin, yung public school teachers, naka 1:1 ratio yan ng laptop and public school teacher.
Galing, 24/7? 24/7 yan?
Yung internet during the online classes.
Yeah.
Because ayaw ho natin.
Hindi pwede mag-Netflix dyan,
we have to restrict also yung access nila because ang purpose naman nito is for online education.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
San Juan Mayor Francis Zamora. Mayor, thank you po for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, ayan, at least may konting good news,
Oo. Wow, okay yan, Dapat lahat ganun, no?
Pero kailangan kasi malinaw sa mga estudyante kung kanila na yun o they'll turn it over to the next.
Kaya lang, after 1 year, no? Siyempre.
Kanina na yun, dali namang masira rin ng mga ganyan Saka na-obsolete.
Na-obsolete.
Diba? So,
baka kung sino gusto bumili, pwedeng bilhin.
Kasi remember, the school year na lang is good for how many months?
Yeah.
For another 5. Hindi, i-extend nila dahil nga sa dami ng interruption tsaka late start.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Including the breaks,
Yeah.
Kung magkaka-break pa, hanggang summer, tatama siya hanggang summer.
Kasi imagine yung laptops, Anyway.
Oo nga Well, by the time
pagdating ng end of school, mag-aagawan yung mga, akin hindi, balik na yan.
Kahit may vaccine, gusto nila
diba?
yun, no? Siyempre, gusto nila kanila na yun. Pero palagay ko, babawiin yung mahal nun, Siyempre, yung isang grupo, mag-graduate din yun, di ba? Kakailanganin din yun sa susunod na paan.
Hand down.
Siguro, at least mga 2 years, siguro pwede. 2 years, 2 to 3 years.
Good luck sa 2 years. Okay. mamaya na sa Greenhills na yun. Okay. That'll be all for this Thursday edition of the Chiefs. Tomorrow's a Friday. We hope what to discuss here will keep the conversation going. I'm Adligaw for News.
I'm Mami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
And I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5, and we are One News.